Welcome, friends. This is Adrian Sinclair with Apodcast.com. And today, my guest, Ian Rader, from homeless to homeowner, from jobless to owning 2 businesses. Welcome to the show, Ian.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's get right into it. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you, Ian. I'm really looking forward to this.
I'm excited.
You are definitely an interesting person to have on the show. You have stories.
Yeah, I got a couple of them.
And just like I said in the intro, you have an interesting background.
Yeah.
And I want to start with like your story and how did you get where you are right now? You were homeless. Now you have a home. You were jobless. Now you have 2 businesses. You come from good family.
Yeah.
And so what happened?
Yeah, definitely. So I was born in Santa Barbara, California. So for those out there who know where that is, it's a very nice area. It's where the rich people go to pretend they're normal, you know? And I come from a really good family. Like I never wanted for anything, no abuse, nothing like that. Really good family. But for as long as I can remember, I always felt off. I never felt comfortable in my own skin. I always just felt like something was wrong. And when I found drugs, it fixed it. Instantly fixed it. I remember I tried marijuana when I was like 13 years old, and it did something for me that it did more than just, you know, the normal person smokes weed and they get the munchies or they get the giggles or whatever, but that did something so much more for me. And then so from right then and there, the DARE program was a lie. Everything they told me in schools that drugs are bad for you was a lie. So I started experimenting with more, and I always got great grades. I went to school in England. I went to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, you know, and I did so much and got great grades, but all of the self-knowledge couldn't cover up the internal pain and didn't stop me from becoming homeless. So after many rehabs, you know, family trying to intervene and help, I was on and off homeless for a few years from different places like Long Beach, Cypress Street, Santa Ana, California, you know. It's not really nice places to be. Crenshaw, you know, Oxnard, all over California. And I was addicted to street narcotics at that point. I was intravenously using heroin, methamphetamines, crack, all, and you know, I committed a lot of crimes that are associated with people doing drugs like that. And I don't know when it went from the little party after school with your friends, you know, drinking a little here. I don't remember when I was doing it for fun, when I was doing it to survive. I don't remember when that thing happened. I go from there, and then, you know, family had stopped talking to me for a while for good, obvious reasons. You know, they had to distance themselves from me, which I don't blame them. I encourage them. I'm really grateful that they did that, to where finally, you know, kind of cutting through all the war stories of it. No one really wants to hear that. I don't feel comfortable talking too much about the war stories on camera, but you know, my girlfriend had just died of a drug overdose. And I was, you know, I didn't want to die, but I didn't know how to live.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was at this point where I was just like, I don't know what to do anymore. And I remember I called my family, and, you know, after just explaining the situation, because before I would call my family up and I'd be crying, bawling, manipulating. Please, I'm willing to do anything now. Please, I'll change. Yeah, you know, please, you know, the tears. It's all manipulation tactics when I look back on it now. The pain, the fear, and the tears were real back then, but looking back in hindsight, it was manipulation. This time I called my family, and I just remember with the most monotone voice ever, with just dead inside, just, I need help. Like, I'm willing. You send me to Alaska. I don't care. I need to get out of California, but I'm willing to do anything at this point. So my dad picked me up, And I detoxed at his house for like 7 days straight, cold turkey off heroin and meth. And, you know, you won't die from the withdrawals from heroin and methamphetamines, but you wish you would have, you know. And I remember doing that, and, you know, just took my girlfriend from me. It's destroyed my life. Drugs and everything had taken everything from me, and I still got high a day before I moved out here. And when my family was like, Ian, we're sending you to Utah, I was like, where the hell is Utah? You know? And I was like, sure, I don't care. Send me anywhere. They're like, you're going to go to rehab in Utah. And my last shot of heroin was in the LAX bathroom, August 27th of 2015. And so my sobriety date is August 28th of 2015. And from there, you know, I looked at my life, and I realized that I did not have the tools to fix me. You know, everything I tried to do, everything I tried to manage, finagle, try and get to go my way, everything I thought I needed to do just was not working.
What did you try?
Everything. You know, I tried therapy, rehab. I tried this type of narcotic, or the psychiatrist would tell me to do this drug and that drug. I tried, I think I even tried hypnosis. Like my family tried everything, you know. And for me, and this is just my experience, I guarantee you someone had a completely different experience with the same things that happened to me. Maybe it happened to them. They found a different experience that worked for them. Great. This is just my experience. That's all I like to talk on, because I don't know anything else.
Right. And we talked about that a little bit, and how everybody's different. Yeah. And there are some paradigms, there are some things that work to some extent on everyone, but everyone has to tweak it specifically to them. So there's like no one size fits all for life. Yeah.
No, and eventually when I got to that point, I was willing to try something different, and I had heard of like 12-step groups and stuff like that. Never wanted anything to do with them before, but I never gave them a shot either. And so that's actually how I found my sobriety, was through a group of people who had been through the same stuff. And it was like, I went to those groups, and it was a bunch of people who said they used drugs like I did, they felt like I did, they lived like I did. The only difference was they weren't living that way anymore. And I was like, wow, that's all I wanted. Like, all I wanted was to wake up and be happy. That's literally it. And I searched so hard for peace, happiness, and serenity in a substance. I looked everywhere for that in a substance, but could never find it. Whereas, you know, in that fellowship, I found it. And it was all about using my experience to help other people. That was it. You know, the shirt you're wearing, everyone can help someone from, we'll get into that, but as a company I started called No One Down Apparel. 20% of everything we sell, we donate to help people get into treatment, help warm the homeless, food for the homeless, stuff like that. And everyone can help someone. You know, that was actually one of our best-selling shirts.
I believe that. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, I want that. I want that.
Yeah, you know, just because
it's just so true.
My experience, you know, I've been given the unique ability to help people that quote-unquote normal people don't know how to help or aren't able to help.
You got to experience it for yourself. You got to be there to feel it, to hurt, to go through everything, to have that connection with what really happened and what someone else is going through, versus like textbook. Oh yeah, you're gonna have, you know, pains and sweats and whatever, right? When you're withdrawing or what have you.
No, and especially, you know, going from being homeless to Cypress Street, Santa Ana, to I own 2 houses now. You know, that clothing company. I'm an interventionist today. I use my experiences to help families. So that was the biggest thing. My family, God bless them, love them. They did everything they could, but I know that they just didn't understand. And I hope that they don't understand, because if they do understand, that means they went through the same crap that I did. So I don't wish that anyone understand, because it's impossible. You know, it's impossible to, let me, if you mind, I got an analogy here.
Go for it.
So let's say you go to a doctor, and you go to the doctor and you say, Doc, I hate life. Like everything feels bland, and I hate myself, and I don't know what's going on, and I just don't feel normal, and I feel off, and I'm disgusted every morning. I have no energy, and every morning is more miserable than the last. Help me. And the doctor goes, I got something for you. You take a pill, and instantly you're the man that you knew you always wanted to be. Instantly you are the person that you've always wanted to. You wake up and everything's great, and everything, and you love life again, and you feel it. And then some time goes by and everything's wonderful, right? Everything's great. You go back to that doctor for a consultation. The doctor says, hey, we can't give you that medication anymore. It's going to kill you. And you go, wow, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, we found something. It's going to kill you. And you go, okay, we'll stop it. But can we find something else that might work? Yeah, we'll try everything else. You try everything else and it doesn't work. Everything else. You keep going back. You try to do this, that, and the other, and nothing works. And then eventually you're going to go back to the doctor and be like, hey, nothing's working. You need to put me back on that first medication. And he goes, no, I can't. It's illegal now. I can't do it. It's going to kill you. And you go, what would you be willing to do to get that first medication again? Any normal person who felt that way long enough is going to go to the ends of the earth to stop that feeling. That's addiction in a very small nutshell. It's like any person who's under that type of bondage of self, internal bondage, is going to try anything. And once he finds something that he might even think works, he will never want to put it down.
So you mentioned that you were trying to get away from yourself through drugs to escape, hating yourself, escaping all those feelings and emotions. Tell me more about that, and like how did that start? Like remember, like first time. I mean, I know you said like you just smoked some marijuana when you were young, but was that just experimental, or was that already?
No, it was experimental because I didn't know the problem existed until I felt relief from the problem.
I see.
Because no one. I was 13. I don't think any 13-year-old kid has an existential crisis of like, oh, me is me. I have the problem. No, like I just didn't know.
Right.
So I had no idea, and I think that was part of the issue of we see the stigma of drug addiction. We don't talk about it. We don't bring it up. It's not a real thing. Your kid might has it, but my kid doesn't. Like, oh, I feel so bad for you, but we don't know anything about that. Addiction. From my experience, addiction is just running from pain. Any addiction, food, sex, drugs, exercise, alcohol, anything. I'm doing this to not feel this.
Right. But in your case, it wasn't pain. You told me in private. You said that it was like you weren't abused. You had a great family. You didn't have like a traumatic childhood. You weren't sexually abused or any other way. And so, what was the pain?
So pain, the degree of pain, it's the pain. Looking at it in hindsight, what I think it was, who knows if I'll ever know. It was self-inflicted, the self-imposed crisis. My perception caused the pain. I told you how I had that feeling of I didn't feel like I belonged or I hated myself. And growing up, too, if we really like, trauma can look like many different things to many different people. Growing up, like I was super skinny as a kid. So skinny I got made fun of for being so skinny. And then I allowed outside sources to dictate my actions so much so that I got fat.
Yeah.
And then I got picked on for being fat. And then I was just like, I just can't win.
Right.
I was a weird kid growing up. No one liked me. And then here's the thing that fed into it. I started selling weed when I was like 13. And then instantly everyone wanted to be my friend. Everyone wanted to be my friend. Girls started to like me again when none of these people would ever want to talk to me ever.
So is it, you think that everyone that was they were trying to escape from themselves?
I couldn't tell what other people were doing, and
Right.
that's not my job to try
Right.
and analyze other people.
Yeah.
If they're willing to be honest with themselves, we can have a conversation about it, but I don't know. All I know is that I craved attention and acceptance so much that I was willing to get expelled from junior high for it. I got expelled from junior high for selling weed, and then I had to move to a new school. And then I moved to a new school, and instantly, kids' rumors, like the rumors of 13, 14-year-old people. I get to this new school, the rumors start flying. Oh, he's from prison, and he murdered someone, and he's this crazy gangster, whatever it was. Kids talk, right? And I loved it. I loved those
You had
lies.
a reputation.
Yeah, I loved a reputation that I didn't even need to work for.
Ego was swelling.
And I felt so good that I didn't correct these people. I was like, yeah, I'm the new kid. I got expelled. Okay. And I loved it. And I fell in love with that. And I think that's why, I remember I came home from my second rehab, right? Came home from my second rehab. I had 6 months sober, wasn't doing anything to try and maintain sobriety. I was just there. And it was, my mom had a holiday party with all of her doctor friends and stuff like that. They're really well-off friends. And their kids, the doctor's friends' kids, these kids I grew up with, right? And I go home and they're all like, oh, I'm graduating med school and I bought my first home and I'm getting married and I traveled the globe, and I hear all these wonderful stories. And then they would come to me and they'd be like, oh, Ian, what have you been doing with your life? And I'd be like, oh, I'm smoking crack and shooting heroin. That's what I've been doing with my life. And they think I'm joking. They're like, that's so funny. And I'm like, no, really. Been shooting a lot of heroin. And then I in that moment in my own home with friends who I grew up with family friends who I've known my whole life, I never felt more uncomfortable in my life. It was weird.
At a place like this was
Right?
not you. This was not your place.
Yeah. And that's the weird part is these people weren't dangerous.
Right.
I know harm would come to me, but I just felt so off crawling out of my own skin.
How have you ever figured out why? Have you asked yourself that question over? And
it all came from my self-perception. It had nothing to do with them. It all had to do with me, my noggin. What I perceived of myself. And then when I think I know what I'm perceiving of myself, I think I'm a mind reader. And I think I know what you're thinking about me. And then I get caught up in that narrative. You hate me. You don't like me. What do you blah, blah, blah. And I remember specifically leaving from there to meet up with a buddy of mine. And this is one of my first relapses, actually. Met up with a buddy of mine. We met up with some friends. And these friends had tattoos on their faces. They wanted in 3 different states, and I never felt more comfortable in my life. Going down to downtown LA 7th and Los Angeles Street. And I was like, 3 a.m., right, where no normal person would ever be caught dead. I'm like, this is my home. This is my area. These are my friends. And I think the reason I gravitated towards those people is because they were dangerous. And I felt safe with them. And it was like that thing, that niche of I can come here. I'm welcome here.
Wait, what? They were dangerous and you felt
I felt safe. Yeah.
All right, you need to unpack that a little bit.
No one's going to mess with me.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
No one's going to be, because I was.
But then again, you're more exposed to being in a more dangerous situation.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
But I don't think that way. As a kid, I got picked on a lot, as a kid. Well, not horribly, but I remember I had some anger issues. Now that we're kind of really talking about it, I remember in second grade, someone was making fun of me, and I blinked, and I opened my eyes, and that person was on the ground. Second grade, and I'm like, "What happened?" And they were like, "You just kicked that person in the stomach," and I'm like. And I ran to go tell the principal because I had no recollection of this happening. Ever since that happened, I never got into a fight ever again.
Were you on drugs then?
No.
When that happened? That was not an episode of...
That was just Ian.
That was just...
Wow.
Wow.
And then from that, I never got into a fight again because I was so scared of that happening again. Meaning people would rob me, steal my wallet, my backpack in class and stuff, and the same kid picked on me for like 2 years. And I would just let it happen because I was so scared of blinking again, you know? And I remember that same kid, it was like a movie, right? A group of friends circle around me and the kid's pushing me, stealing my backpack, and I snap. I don't know what happened to me, but I just snapped and I grabbed him and I started yelling at him and I put my face right next to his face and I said some really horrible stuff. And then I started hitting him and I hurt him. And from that moment, I was like, I'm never going to let anyone treat me like that ever again. You know, and that was like my defense mechanism. So hanging out with these really dangerous people, it was like even though, yeah, you know, I put myself in more dangerous situations, I felt safe there. But that's the grand delusion that we're talking about is I felt so unsafe and uncomfortable with family, friends, and so safe and comfortable with people who are definitely attract danger. That's the craziness of it.
Wow, that's amazing in terms of being in that space where you are so afraid of sort of like self, of like, what can I do? Because it's an episode of hey, I lost some time and then, you know, this person is on the ground.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely understand how you wanted to make sure that never happens again.
But I always ask myself, what can I do to cover up the fear of self? But I never asked why. I never even wanted to look for the why. I was just looking for the Band-Aid the whole time. It was when I finally asked myself why, and I honestly looked. I was ashamed of the past. I was afraid of the future, which caused my present to look horrible. Meaning, like, have you ever done an action based off fear or anger?
No, yeah.
How did it work? How did it turn out?
Yeah, it
didn't turn out well,
it's
right?
never good.
So because of my shame and guilt of the past and my fear of the future, it was causing me to make actions in the now based off of fear and anger and selfishness reasons, which put me in a position to hurt me or put me in a position to hurt someone else. So if I was able to clear up the past and work on how not to become afraid of the future, which is something that doesn't exist, I have the ability to look into the future and see the future, and it looks horrible. Like, it just looks awful. You know, the way my mind used to work is, oh man, I'm going to be late for work. If I'm going to be late for work, I know they're going to fire me. If they're going to fire me, then I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, and I'm not going to be able to, you know, I'm going to get evicted from my apartment. If I'm evicted from my apartment, I know I should just start selling crack again just so I can pay the bills. If I'm selling crack, I might as well just do crack. If I'm doing crack, I know I need to get a gun, start robbing people. If I rob someone, I'm going to go to prison. If I go to prison, I'm going to have to join a gang. If I join a gang, I'm going to be the leader of that gang. You know, I just successfully mapped out the next 10 years of my life in a matter of 30 seconds, and it doesn't look good.
Projection is
right?
Projection, carrying the past, what has happened to us in the past, and a lot of people that's the baggage that they can't shed. They're just carrying that load, and you need to release from that because that's going to be driving your future. And then the future is projection. You don't know. There's only now, right? Like we talked about briefly about some people that influenced us, such as Eckhart Tolle and Wayne Dyer and of course Alan Watts. Yeah. And Alan Watts was talking about that. You know, he was like, "There's only now. Mm-hmm. The past doesn't exist anymore. Yes, it influences you. Of course, you learn from the past, and the future doesn't exist." It's only what you're gonna project. So just like you described, you can have the most rosy future when you have confidence.
You feel good.
You're like, I'm gonna achieve this. I'm gonna manifest it. I'm gonna achieve all these things. Whatever is important to you, you think is important, really. or you can just destroy your future by like just nitpicking into anything and just breaking into negatives.
Oh yeah.
And then self-manifest. You literally will you will get what you want, like in that projection.
Fear is the corrosive thread that weaves through the very fabric of our lives. And literally, again, how much time have you wasted on fear? Like if you were to add up all the minutes, seconds, and hours, how much time did I waste on fear? Over half my life. Making decisions based off anger and fear, which drove me insane, which drove me back to the drugs and alcohol. Because I just needed relief. That's all I wanted. Remember I talked about the peace, happiness, and serenity. That's all I wanted was to find peace, happiness, and serenity in this insanity. And the only way I knew how to find it was in drugs and alcohol. But those stopped working. They stopped working, and I just didn't know what I was doing anymore. And, finally, like, I'm so grateful that I found that peace, happiness, and serenity by helping other people.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So you ended up in Utah.
Yeah.
Your parents sent you over here to a rehab.
Parents sent me to rehab, and then they paid for 1 month of sober living, and then they were just like, we're done with you. Like, never, don't call us again. And I totally understand that. Like, they needed some distance for a little bit because my track record also wasn't the best. I would go to a rehab, I'd get high in rehab, and then they'd kick me out. And then this is like my 6th rehab at this point, But finally, like, did you ever see the movie Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah.
Great movie.
Great movie.
There's that scene where, at the very beginning, they're storming the beach and there's bombs going off, live fire snapping over their head, crazy, right? And then this dude's storming the beach and a bomb goes off and then he loses his arm. And he's so shell-shocked, doesn't even faze him. He just like slowly picks up his arm and just goes waddling down the beach like nothing's wrong.
Right.
That was me when I got to Utah. Like shell-shocked by life. I'm just here thinking, I destroyed my life. My girlfriend died. I don't know how to live. I don't know how to die. Like, just shell-shocked. And then I go to, a recovery meeting, right? And, it's a 12-step program. We talked about that. And, you ask someone who's done them before, and you ask them to take you through them because they've done it before. They know what they're talking about. And I remember I didn't even ask anyone. Someone from my treatment center just grabbed me and said, "You're going to work with this guy." And I said, "Okay." Like, I just didn't care. That guy is still my like spiritual advisor to this day. But I was willing to try anything. Because before they would say like, I would look at the 12 steps and I'm like, I have tangible, real problems. They talk about God and they talk about spirituality, and I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I have real physical problems. I'm going to die. How is a book supposed to help me? How is this prayer and meditation supposed to help me? Give me a pill, let me see a doctor, and leave me alone. But that failed me. Never worked. So I tried this.
Why do you think? Well, is it because it's on a physical level and shallow? You don't have anything like deeper to connect to? Like,
I don't think it is. In that, the opposite of addiction is connection.
Right.
I was so blocked from me that there's no way I could ever have a relationship with you. So I had to learn, what was blocking Ian from Ian. And I also said, like, I don't have a drug problem. I have a sobriety problem. I had to figure out what's my problem with sobriety. Why, on a base level, do I feel neurotic, insecure, and just not part of? I feel apart from. That's my baseline average. I had to get down to the causes and conditions of why. And that's what the 12 steps did. And that's what that fellowship did to help me figure that out. And now, I have my own spirituality. I have my own concepts of God as I understand it. I don't like to get into that because it's a whole different 3-hour conversation.
That's in the next episode.
Yeah, But I have cultivated this relationship, and we also talked about how I grew up Jewish, right?
Right.
I grew up thinking I had to learn a different language to talk to God. I grew up thinking if I ate bacon, I was going to hell. If I had sex out of marriage, I was going to hell, you know. And, you know, I had all these concepts. Follow that up with another story. I was in Jerusalem 3 years ago, right? I travel, you know. That's the miracle of this thing. Like, I went from homeless to I travel.
Right.
Like, I get to do some amazing things. I went to Jerusalem 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, and I met down with, you know, I guess one of the rabbis of the ward, I guess. I don't know what people here in Utah would call him, but I sat down with a rabbi, and he knows all about my past, you know, involved in gangs, drugs, all that stuff.
How did he know? Did you?
I told him.
You told him.
Yeah, I told him.
Right. Okay.
I sat down with him, and I was studying at a yeshiva for I think 2 months, and so I was out there, you know, traveling and studying and stuff like that. And because I love all religions today, I love everything, you know. But I was raised Jewish, so it's the closest thing I have with the immediate connection. And I talked to him. I said, you know, Rabbi, I have this beautiful connection with God, but I can't help but think that I'm a bad Jew. And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I said, I eat bacon. You know, I don't speak Hebrew. I have sex before marriage. I don't study Torah like you do. I have no desire to become a rabbi. But I still know I have this great connection with God. And he said, well, why does that make you a bad Jew? And I'm like, that's everything that Jews are supposed to do. Like, that's... I don't know, stereotypically speaking, I guess. And he says...
Yeah, what did he say?
He said, you know, Ian, if I could do what you do and still have the same connection with God that I have today, I would do it. I'd eat bacon. I wouldn't read Torah. I would sleep with other women other than my wife. Like, I would do all those things. But I don't know how to have the connection with God doing those things. So if you tell me that you have the connection with God and you're able to do those things, mazel tov, good for you.
Right.
Like, you have won. Good. I found my God through helping people. Helping people that normal people don't want to help or aren't able to help. So that's how I found my God.
And you are working with a rabbi
Yes, Rabbi Benny Zippel, Utah Lebibovich. I said that completely wrong. I'm sorry. He's a great guy. You know, he has no background in addiction, but he started a program called Project Heart's nonprofit and he helps people get into treatment with it. And that's how we met. We would go to treatment centers together, and you know, it's funny because he'll even say like, Ian, I did not see you at services this week. Where were you? And I'll be like, I was helping God's kids. And I'll be like, okay, that's a good reason not to come to services. You know, I was like, yeah, that's what I thought, you know. Because, you know, he's a rabbi. Like, he's a Hasidic rabbi. He doesn't touch a phone on Friday nights and Saturdays, like doesn't turn on a light switch, you know, devout. Like me, I can't participate in Shabbos because I'm always got my phone on me.
Right.
If someone calls me and they need me, I'm going to answer no matter what. You can't drive a car. If someone calls me and they need me to go to a crack den to pick a junkie up to take him to detox, I'm going, you know, and so that's why I found my I still, you know, we talked about identifications. Like, I still identify as Jewish just because that's what I was brought up as. I still practice some of the traditions. But, you know, I'm a different kind of Jew, I guess you could say. You know, I help God's kids.
When we're trying to schedule this time to talk, and it's like, no, Adrian, I got this, you know, I got work, I got a meeting with someone, and so like everything else just goes on a back burner. So, and so that is, well, you found your mission. So you found your, you found yourself through finding that, you know, finding that part of yourself that likes being what it is through helping others.
Oh yeah.
That's how I'm reading it.
No.
So tell me more about like what you're doing in Utah. with the work that you do. You have what is it? Sobriety Wellness Services that you're
Sobriety
running.
Wellness Services. So Sobriety Wellness Services is you know, everything I've done is either started out as a joke or a complete mistake. So Sobriety Wellness Services. Before that, I was working at a position. I was the lead retention officer. My ability to speak with people, I think, helped a lot with that. And I was there for 4 years. I was there when the company first started. It was an amazing experience because the owner of the company, I met him when I was in rehab. He had a family member in my rehab, and he heard me share my story. Back then, when I was 30 days sober, my story was just all war stories. My story was, I robbed this guy, broke into this house, kidnapped this dude, just all this. It was horrible. Talked about businesses that I robbed, just awful stuff. He heard that. And when I got out of rehab, I was looking for work. He hired me. There are some sick people out there. He hired me. I don't know what it was, but he saw something in me and he gave me a chance. He gave me a chance to either succeed or fail. And I was with that company from the beginning. And I learned some amazing things. Left that job to work at a treatment center. Right before I started that job, I hit a deer in my car, but luckily the job gave me a company car. But I was laid off that job in 3 weeks.
What happened?
So they lost an insurance contract, so they laid off a lot of people. And so it was crazy because in a matter of 3 weeks, quit my job that I was at for 4 years, lost my car, lost my job, and I was just sitting there I have 2 mortgages to pay. I don't have a car. I don't, insurance is going to help a little bit for sure, but I don't have a job. What am I going to do? And, normally I would do actions based off fear or anger.
So you would go to the past and
normally I'm just going to sell some heroin and I would just do this, but I'm on a different basis in life today, meaning whenever I think my life is falling out of place, I practice prayer, meditation, and helping others and give a little bit of time to go by. And I found that life was actually falling into place. I just couldn't see it at the time. Because when I'm wrapped in fear and anger, I can't see straight. So I did that. I threw myself into prayer, meditation, and helping others. And my buddy, who is an interventionist for a long time now, he's like, dude, Ian, I have more jobs that I can handle right now. Get your accreditations and we'll do it. And so I slammed it. I got my accreditations to be an intervention, sober companion, sober safe travel. And I started working with him, and me and him were like, why don't we just start our own legit company? And that's what we did. So we started Sobriety Wellness Services. We do business consulting for people who have employees who might be on drugs. We do safe travel to get people from point A to point B. Let's say you have an alcoholic, an addict who's a well-to-do business person, and they don't want to go to rehab because work is everything. So we'll live with them, for X amount of time. And the longest one we've done is my buddy did a year. Wow. Living with someone, and let's say he's still wants to keep up appearances. He has these big marketing meetings, stuff like that. He has to entertain the clients, so he's got to take clients to strip clubs and bars. So we'll be there with them, and we'll help them come up with, if they're not ready to be honest with people around them, we'll help them come up with excuses of oh, sir, your pancreatitis, or I'm not a big liar, but if it's helping them stay safe, we'll do what we got to do, and so that's what we're there for. And then intervention, helping families, deal with approaching a loved one who seems unapproachable, where it's and the thing is, the people are going to get sober. I can't force anyone to get sober. I can't make them get sober. I just give them suggestion and direction. It's up to them to follow it. For intervention, I'm there to help the family set boundaries. That's what I'm there to do. I'm there to say, okay, if they don't take these suggestions and directions that we're outlining, what are you prepared to do as a consequence? Are you willing to kick them out of your home? Are you willing to cut them off financially, emotionally, in all aspects of support? Are you willing to cut them out completely until they're willing to give this an honest shot?
In your experience working with, how long you've been doing this?
I mean, I've been doing, because I used to do like free interventions, you could say, just offer my experience to families. Been doing it for 4 or 5 years. Professionally, after getting the credits, I've only been doing it for a couple months.
Okay.
You know, but
but you have all that experience. You've seen people going down and up and coming back, and then there's
my
your own experience. Your personal experience, right? I mean, to sort of answer that question, really, it's like your whole life is that experience, because now you're using that to help others.
Yeah.
What do you see? What I'm interested in hearing is, what do you see some of the top factors for people to kick a habit? What are some of the things that are helping them? It probably is different for many, but what do you see? Like if I would ask you, like, what are the top 3 things?
So in my experience, there's a couple different types of alcoholics. There's the moderate drinker, you know, the person who drinks or uses drugs moderately, and he might have gotten a DUI or 2 and stuff, but nothing major ever happened. You know, if his family asked him right now, don't drink again, he'd be like, okay, I won't. You're right. Sorry. There's the hard drinker. This dude binge drinks a lot, does a lot of drugs and stuff, and then maybe something crazy happened, like he got into a car accident because of a drug or something, and he went to court maybe a few times. But again, if the family really pushed him and said, you need to stop, like you need to stop or we won't talk to you anymore, they're done. Or it's like the wife says, if you don't stop, I'm leaving you.
Right.
And that person goes, okay.
That's my wake-up call.
That's my wake-up call.
That's the line. And
when it comes to the real, true blue, like addict, alcoholic, they'll get to that point where the wife says, I'm leaving you. And the addict alcoholic goes, okay, no problem. And in that warming, loving embrace of, baby, I'm so sorry, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, how can I drink and use drugs without them finding out?
Wow.
Even in the face of knowing that they will lose everything. You know, remember we talked about that internal pain. That internal pain is so great where I know the consequences, but damn the consequences.
There are people who use drugs recreationally for fun, as in like, I just wanted like experience, what have you.
Cool.
Then there's people that will use drugs to get away from themselves, like you have, right? That is something that persists with, unless this is just my theory.
Yeah.
Unless you've fixed the underpinning problem, or not even problem, but
the cause and
condition, then you always will come back.
Oh yeah.
Right?
No, I had a buddy of mine, we used to shoot heroin together. One day, boom, he stopped. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm like, what? What do you, I did not compute. It's like when I see someone drink half a glass of wine, you know, and they take a couple sips and they're like, I'm done. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
What are you talking about?
Right.
Like that, you're wasting it, you know? In my head, that's a warm-up round, you know, which is why I don't do any substances today, you know, just because I don't drink. Every once in a while I have a cigarette, you know, but that's kind of it, you know, because tobacco never did the same thing that other things did. You know, tobacco doesn't make me go on these binges
right.
where I lose track of time and I hurt people and hurt myself, you know?
Right.
Whereas, you know, I remember one time I had this theory where I was like, you know, I was a junkie. I was never an alcoholic. So I went to a bar and I ordered a cocktail. Not a bunch of shots or anything, just a cocktail. And I drank half of it. And I put it down and I said to myself, oh, you know what? I can control this. I'm not going to drink anymore. You know, I can drink normally. It's the hard stuff I can't touch, but I can't drink anymore. And what happened was 2 hours later, I was slamming methamphetamines. I was shooting heroin and meth.
Wow. So that was the trigger. That was just that little switch. That
there's certain substances that my body does not react well to. I have an allergic reaction to where if I take it, who knows what's going to happen, you know?
Right.
Whereas certain substances I've been able to, like, you know, nicotine for one of them. Like I said, I'll have a cigarette every once in a while. One of my old vices still.
Right.
You know, but other than that,
it doesn't. That doesn't trigger that.
Yeah, I don't want to press my luck and find out either.
Right. Right.
So that's why, like, it's, you know, other people, if they want to use drugs, like, I'm not here to tell anyone to don't do or use them. I don't care. It's your life.
Right.
Like, I speak at a lot of high schools, junior highs, stuff like that, and I'm never there to be like, don't do drugs, kids. Drugs are bad. We all know drugs are bad, you know. But my thing is, if you're doing drugs and you're happy with it, and you're not hurting anyone or hurting yourself, and your life is manageable,
right?
Who cares? But if you're doing it and you don't like doing it, but you're still doing it, that's an issue.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we talk about that?
Yeah. You know, drugs, broadly defined, almost everything is a drug, right? Food is drug. You can
coffee, everything. Yeah.
I mean, everything that people binge eat to satiate, like, or they're like, oh, it's my comfort food, so I'm just gonna have a gallon of ice cream, right? Yeah. And not good for you.
Mine's chicken and waffles.
Yeah, chicken and waffles.
Oh, it's so good. There's this place in LA called Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. So good. Anyways, continue. Sorry.
So
everything's a drug.
Everything is a drug. And everything, for everyone, different things will have different reactions, right?
Bob Marley, every reaction, what's the song? Every action has a reaction.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm finding, on my journey, I'm finding that you hone in what your body responds to and how it reacts to it, throughout your whole life.
Yeah.
Whether it's food, whether it's drink or drugs, or like literally some people, like in your case, you used it for that, you know, to really push away that self that was the I don't know, ego, that self that was self-destructive, and so getting away from it was the reason, right? Yeah. So I told you today I was at that meeting with Ketamine, and we started talking about that. That was very interesting, and that's an instance. And I hear cases in that meeting. I heard cases where they're using ketamine for the veterans with severe PTSD or people with suicidal ideation or attempted suicides, and for them, it seems that it triggered something in their brain that they were able to rewire, recontextualize their lives, and reframe where they are. And they did the treatment, and now they're like in a different space at all. And to me, that's amazing. So I guess where I'm going with all of this is to each his own, right?
Oh yeah.
It's like you find out what works for you.
You find out what works, but my thing is if you were
to find out what doesn't work.
Oh, exactly. No, yeah, and that's why there's people like me.
Yeah.
Because my you know, what I found was, if you were to tell me right now, like, oh, there's a pill that can make you drink normally or use drugs recreationally so you don't have to worry about your past experiences, my first thought would be, wow, I wonder what 20 is going to do. You know, like, my thing is excess.
Like 20 pills of that?
Yeah, it's like the doctor recommends one.
Right.
And then you just need to take one for the rest of your life. Boom, that's it. You could drink or do recreational drugs like a normal person. My first thought is, what's 50 going to do then? Will I be extra normal then, you know?
And what does that mean?
And see, that's where it leads me into mind. Like, the problem isn't the drugs and the alcohol. That was the solution to my problem. My problem is my inability to be okay on my average plane. So that's why I found through prayer, meditation, and being, you know, helpful to other people. Because what's the opposite of selfishness? Selflessness. My problem is located in the self, my bondage of self, right? So by being of help, usefulness to other people, I get outside of myself. So that's what I found.
How does your day look like now?
Oh, when I'm not working? So if I'm working with a client, a long-term client, I'm living with them 24/7 for X amount of days, you know? And before we get started, I'll talk with them like, okay, what's your goal here? What do you want to try to do? Or, you know, and then they'll explain to me either, oh, you know, I can't drink anymore ever. Like, okay, we're going to build a life around you that's so good that you won't want to anymore. You know, whether it's getting up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym, prayer, meditation, yoga, to get your mind right. And we foster good routines, whether that's
Forming good habits.
Exactly. You know, and no matter what, like you're waking up, unless you're sick or dying, like we're waking up, we're going to build a routine and a habit around you. You know, whatever that looks like. I will meet you where you're at. Where it's like, all right, Ian, I can only smoke crack on Fridays. Okay. I'm going to help you only smoke crack on Fridays. If that's what you want. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm the last person to do that. You know, I'm a person who knows how to burn their life to the ground. But by taking someone else's suggestion direction, I found a new way of living. So I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'll give you suggestion and direction, you know, but what do you want to do? You know, people hire us and we help them achieve their sobriety goals.
Do you find that they have some kind of a goal that was just dusted over, or do they need to find a new goal to dig themselves out of
50-50. You know, majority of people, I mean, usually people know what they want. You know, most of the time people know what they want. But the question is that what they really want? Like, I thought I knew what I wanted, but was it what I needed?
Right.
You know? So I help them kind of trim that off and define that. To find out if we trim it and define it so much, is it what you really want? Is it what you need?
So when you're with someone that you're helping out, you know, then you're in that obviously working mode where you're focusing on them and helping them throughout the day. You know, what does your day look like on your days off?
My days off, oh man, I sleep in till around 9 a.m. Oh, it's beautiful.
That's epic. 9.
I know, 9 a.m.
Wow.
Woohoo.
We're really pushing it.
No, I mean, because my fiance, so yeah, and I'm getting married too.
Congratulations.
And that's another thing. People like me don't do that. Like people like going from homeless to own homes, and I have the love of a wonderful woman who is just amazing. The fact that she can put up with me, that's ridiculous, you know.
How did you guys meet?
Tinder.
And was it here in Utah? Or?
Yeah, here in Utah. And you know, it's so funny because so like the dating scene was really awkward for me because I dated around with other people in recovery, and it didn't just turn out well. It's like, you know, and so I started dating, we call you guys normies, people who aren't in recovery, meaning you could drink socially if you wanted to. I started to date normies, right? And, you know, I'm very honest and upfront. And then we get to that part of like, oh, what brought you to Utah? What do you do? You know, I do this. And like, oh, that's so nice. You own a clothing company that helps people in recovery and help the homeless. Why did you do that? And I go, I'm in recovery. And then, you know, I try and keep it as bland as possible, because then like if this is not real first date conversation stuff, right? Like, oh, you're in recovery. That's great. That's so awesome. They're always so excited for you. Like, congratulations. It's so awesome. So like, what drugs did you do? Oh, you know,
like everything.
Stuff, you know, like what stuff? Like crack, meth, heroin. You know, like what? What'd you say? Crack, meth, heroin. What? I couldn't hear you. I did crack, meth, and heroin. A lot of it. And they're like, wow. And then just like that, dead air, you know, just nothing. And then I drop them off, and I was a great night. I had a great time. Never hear from them again. I'm like, oh, wow.
Too much to handle.
Yeah. And then.
So what kind of woman did you meet that?
Her name's Victoria. She's amazing. And we met on Tinder, and our schedules, she's the cultural and I'm never going to say this right ever, cultural engagement coordinator for her company. And so she's super busy all the time. We matched on Tinder, and then we just talked for like 2-3 months because our schedules were so busy, you know? So we ended up like learning a lot about each other. So before like we even met, she knew all about me and she was really open to it. She even comes to some of my recovery meetings every once in a while. And I always say like, you don't think this is awkward for you? Like, and she's like, why? A bunch of people getting together to try and better themselves. Like, what's wrong with that? I was like, good point. You know, she's always been really cool and she's a trooper. Because I'll get calls at like 3 a.m. like, you didn't pick me up. Like, I need to go to detox or whatever. And I just look at her and she just says, go. You know, like, just like, what are you doing looking at me? Like, get gone. Like, go help that person, you know? Right. She's just so amazing. And the fact that, you know, because this job, like, I just got off working 3 weeks, you know, and luckily...
I was going to say, I mean, is she ready for, you know, taking this clear? You guys are getting married and taking this to the next level in relationship. And this is more than work. I mean, work, people come home, you know, and sleep in their bed, right? I mean, there are jobs out there that, yes, you go out, you get deployed or something, and you're away from your family. But this is like, this is my work. I'm going to spend some time with someone. Yeah. Maybe a stranger, new client maybe, and going to live over there. So that's quite a different dynamic that you guys must have.
Yeah. And I made a promise to her. I promised her I would never miss any big things. Because luckily I have a partner. So if anything does come up, you guys I just call him and I say, you got to watch this guy for a little bit. And I explain that to the client. Like, this is how we operate. Like, if one of us needs to leave, like, this will happen. If we have 2 clients at one time, you know, is what it is. If the clients are comfortable with it and if they sign a waiver, they're more than welcome to meet if we have 2 clients at one time so they can talk about their experiences, because that's always good to have as well, but only if both parties agree to it. So I promised her I would never miss anything big. So she has a not a BA. She's got, I have a horrible memory. I'm sorry, baby. I apologize. She has her BA or something in dance, actually. So she teaches dance studios, she does choreography, she tries out for a lot of dance stuff, and she's got a dance coming up. I'm sorry. She's got a February 26th. I remembered.
Good recovery.
Yeah, right.
You still have a place to go back.
February 26th. No, it's the 29th. Oh, man, it's 26th or 29th. I'm dyslexic, so the 6 and the 9 switches in my brain. And so I promised her I would be there for that. And so certain things like that, I will make sure I'm always going to be there for.
That's what phones are for, you know, calendar.
Yeah.
You know.
Siri. I have it in my phone. Yeah. The date. I have it in there, so.
So that's a great arrangement in terms of having a business partner where you guys are flexible enough that you can cope with that.
And she, because she wants to be a stay-at-home mom. My job is to support her no matter what she wants to do. So I'm trying to build something to where I can support her comfortably, our future children comfortably. Right. You know, because that's all she wanted to do is just be a stay-at-home mom. Right. And if that's what she wants to do, like, I'm more than happy to do whatever I can to facilitate that.
So let's talk about a little bit more about your business, and obviously without revealing any too many details. What kind of people turn up to be your clients to need that kind of help?
So some of them famous, you know, and that's one of the reasons why we also do something called social detoxing, which is if it's not a medical emergency. Because
what's social detoxing?
So detoxing, when you're detoxing off a substance, the substances that can kill you, is alcohol and benzodiazepine, Xanax, things like that. So withdrawing from alcohol and benzos can actually kill you, bring about seizures, things like that. So for those things, you need to go to a hospital and you need to be medically cleared. All the other substances, crack, heroin, cocaine, you know, sky's the limit, you know, they won't kill you. you'll feel like you want to die, but they won't actually kill you.
Well, unless you overdose.
Well, yeah, I mean, the withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah, the withdrawals, right.
Won't kill you.
Right.
So a social detox is where we contact a doctor and we either go to your home or we do it in the privacy of one of our locations or a hotel, wherever you feel most comfortable. And we stay with you through the detox process, and we help administer detox meds, feel-good meds, things to help you, get through the detox process as comfortable as possible. So we do that, and because most people who are affluent don't want to go to a normal detox facility with other people. They would much rather do it in the comfort of their own home, which is where we step in. We contact nurses, we contact doctors for you, and we stay with you through the process. And then eventually after the detox, we ask you, do you think it necessary you have a live-in companion for the next 15 days, month maybe? If you want to continue forth after that, we can, but what do you think you want to do? Because people like that also don't really want to go to rehabs. They don't want to be surrounded by other people, going to the groups. Rehabs are beautiful. They are wonderful. But some people need direct one-on-one
24/7 supervision.
Isn't even a rehab. The best rehabs in the world, you don't get that. You get like 20 people and there's 3 clinicians for those 20 people, and I went through rehab. I'm a product that it does work. Some people need that extra one-on-one hands-on experience. So that's the kind of client, and especially when doing intervention and stuff like that, I'll work with whoever I can, and whenever possible, I love doing free work. And especially I kind of like doing free work a little bit more because then it allows me to go off script. I don't have to be so professional. I can just sit down with a person and listen, whether you get sober or not, whether you take this opportunity or not, I don't care. I'm here for your family. Your family is so worried about you that they don't know what to do anymore. And if you're unwilling to see that there's a problem here, there's nothing anyone can do for you. So my suggestion to you, take this opportunity. Go to rehab. If you don't, you're going to break your family's heart and they're going to not want to see you again. Are you that wrapped up in whatever's going on in here that you're unwilling to even think that there's a possibility that there's a problem? That you're unwilling to even see the damage that you're doing to your family? And even more so, you see it. I know you do. I've been there where you are. You see what you're doing to them, but you're so caught up in the pain that's going on in here that you can't do anything about it. Well, I'm here to tell you, you can. We have an opportunity for you. All you need to do is say yes. And let's go right now.
How do people connect with you, those who you guys choose to help out for free?
Word of mouth. I don't like to say I'm well known because it sounds pompous, but I'm well known. I'm known around the recovery communities. People know me all over the place. And so, especially with our work we do with the 20% we donate to get people into treatment and stuff like that. And that's why I love also the No One Down shirt and clothes, because it gets the conversation started. Right. And it's just people talking about it. Yeah. If we can get people to talk about mental wellness, mental illness and addiction, get them to talk about it normally, opens the conversation.
So let's pull on that thread a little bit.
Cool.
We're in Utah, and by the way,
everyone can help someone.
Everyone can help someone. Get a where can people get these?
So you can get them at our website at www.noonedown.com. That's all spelled out. noonedown.com. And you can get everything there. 20% of everything sold goes to get people into treatment facilities, detox. We bought 500 emergency blankets and handed them out in downtown Salt Lake. We feed the homeless. We like to get our followers involved. So we'll ask them, like, what do you want us to do this month with the money? We really, want to be there and listen to our followers. So we take suggestion pretty well. And then also we have a couple store locations. It's Empire Merchandise Company. Empire Merchandise Company, there's one located
Where's that
in
at?
Pleasant Grove, Utah. There's one located in downtown Salt Lake. You can get No One Down merchandise there. And we have the owner of that company doesn't take any cut from it. He just loves what we're about. And then, so you can pick it up locally or online at www.noonedown.com.
And I love mine. I got my beanie. I got this. And I truly believe it. Everyone can help someone.
Yeah.
I love that. It like when I saw it, I was like, this is something I can wear. It's what I believe in.
It's a great conversation piece too.
It is. And even through these podcasts, you're doing a podcast as well, so we'll talk about that. But I wanted to kind of bring us back a little bit to the conversation on, mental health and the perception that a lot of people have about homeless people.
Yeah.
Where, you see someone at a street corner or underpass and they're waiting for someone to give them some money, and the perception, some people that have perceptions like, well, I'm not going to give them money, they'll just
get drugs.
They'll just go get drugs with it, right? And in fact, and that's what I want to talk to you. Oh my goodness, sorry, my brain just went on a tangent. But
no, you're cool.
So I frequent this coffee shop, and there's this guy Bobby, and well, please don't tell me you know him.
I mean, you haven't said his last name yet. But
I don't know his last name.
I know
yet.
a few Bobbies,
right?
So.
But Bobby is sitting at this coffee shop. He has his mug with his coffee, smokes a cigarette, and he draws these intricate, and I'll show you because I bought one from my wife. I bought this beautiful rose that he drew, very, very intricate, ballpoint pen, scrap paper.
Oh wow!
And he has a stack of them, and I finally built up my courage because I've seen him for weeks over there. Every Saturday when I go over there, I see him. And I built up my courage to talk to him and just kind of learn a little bit about his story. Clearly a weathered man. But he's doing this and just from memory. He's just drawing those. He doesn't have a picture of something, and he just draws it out of there. So I bought one piece, and what struck me was there was this thing about a banana duct taped to a wall and so that's at $100,000 or $120,000.
Yeah.
And I get it; it's a publicity marketing stunt, maybe, I don't know, or maybe just this was the new woo thing that people were like, oh my goodness, look at that, how ridiculous! And then I'm thinking to myself, if a banana duct tape to a wall can sell for $120,000, and you have a homeless person over here. Can their art sell for some great amount? And so I'm going to start this on my podcast. I'm going to probably talk about Bobby a little bit more. I took some pictures of his artwork, and I'm going to actually try to help him out by selling his artwork, and who knows where that's going to lead. But that was my kind of interaction with him, and I really love that. It's like seeing. Clearly, he was even hungry. He didn't talk a lot, but he was hungry for human interaction. Yeah. So being homeless, how did you feel when something like that happened? And I hate to take you back in that, but I want your perspective.
Yeah.
I want to hear what should people think when they see homeless people out there, and whether they're going to help them with money or buy them food. Like a friend of mine, Chris, is literally taking them hey, dude, are you hungry?
Yeah.
If you're hungry, let's go. What do you want? GCW, you want to go burger? You want a burger? You want something else? I'll go and go with you and buy you food.
If you got time to do that, that means more than just $5.
Right.
Because then sitting down, eating a burger with someone and chopping it up, so I remember I was at my previous job had a convention in downtown Salt Lake, and I was really tired and I was just hungry and I just wanted to get some fast food, so I went to a McDonald's, and there's a homeless guy there, and depending on the situation, I won't I'll interact a little bit, but I don't like to force myself on people,
Right.
because then it might make them think that I have an agenda or something like that. So sometimes I'll just feel the situation out, and I said that to my head, like, all right, I'm not going to approach this guy, like, just feel the situation out. And I'm in line waiting for food, and he comes right up to me. He says, hey dude, I'm so sorry to ask, but like, I'm freaking starving, like, is there anything? And I said, dude, anything and everything you want on this menu, go for it. You know, and he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, bro, whatever you want, you know.
Do you tell him your story?
Not yet.
Okay.
So I just said, he ordered a bunch of stuff, and I was like, cool. And we're waiting for our food, and I just told him, like, hey, bro, like, you know, I need to let you know, like, I used to be homeless, used to be addicted to heroin and everything like that. And he just looked at me like, because you could tell, you know, he was on heroin, and he had the scars and sores and stuff, just like I did. And he was like, how did you do it, man? And I told him, just like you, like, you know, I found a group of people who said they lived like I did, and they felt like I did, but they weren't living that way anymore, you know. And I know, you know, where some, you know, nearby 12-step meetings are, so that's where I found it. But I finally started taking it seriously, and I did the work. And I gave him my number, and I just said, call me if you need anything. I never heard from him since. I have no idea if he got sober, if he died of a drug overdose, went to jail. I have no idea.
Right.
But it leads back to that whole, like, I don't give homeless people money. They're going to buy drugs with it. I don't care what they do with it. That's none of my business what they do with it. I'm here to help other people. You know, if the nicest thing I can do for someone is sit down and talk to them, what does that say about me? That's that's the highlight of my nicety today. I sat down and talked with another human being. Like, come on.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, like, you know, if some dude give me $5, like, maybe I got drugs with it at the time, maybe I didn't. But the other thing is, if a homeless person just asks for money, doesn't want food, I'll give him money. Because I hope he does get drugs with it. And I hope when he does it, it did what it did to me. That it brought me to such a low point in my life that I was willing to ask for help and do anything necessary to get it.
I was going to interrupt you and say, wait, what?
Like, what?
What?
You hope he gets
what?
drugs
You hope
with
he
it?
gets drugs?
No, because
that's just the wrong message.
Well, no, it's like,
Right.
I hope he doesn't, but I hope if he is going to get it, that
It's going to bring him on the same path that you
Exactly.
that you came on.
Yeah,
got
like
on.
we talked about before, some people ask me all the time, like, would you change anything about your life?
Right. Yeah.
No. I wish that I didn't have to experience some of the things that I experienced. You know, if I could have put money in Bitcoin back in 1990 or whenever it started, I would have done it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But on a whole, I wouldn't change anything.
Do you believe that the path that you went through was for a reason?
Yeah. And even if it wasn't, I'm able to be of service to people today.
You are where you are today because
Yeah.
of all the crappy stuff that you went through.
Yeah, whether people believe in God, Yah, or whatever, it's none of my business. You know, if there is a creator, I do believe in God. You know, I believe God allowed me to experience all the things that I needed to experience so I could be placed in a position to now help people. 'Cause
Unique position.
Unique position. We talked about it. Like,
Right.
some people are born to be doctors. Some people are born to be policemen. You know, I was born to help people through my experience. So whether I'm saying I was preordained to become a junkie, I probably not, you know. But, you know, that's the path that I took. So God was able to make me useful with the path that I took.
Right.
Yeah.
Working with your rabbi over here
Yeah.
in Utah. Let's give him some airtime.
Cool. Rabbi Benny.
When I was a kid, in Brooklyn, I lived in Borough Park. So,
so there
so I
you
was
go.
right in there.
Yep. Hebrew Central.
Hebrew Central. And with the Hasidic Jews, and going through the rituals and everything. Phenomenal community. But just like every community every community has issues.
Good, bad.
And here we are in Utah. What are your thoughts on what's happening over here in terms of addiction? Why in Utah? I mean, LA, California, right? That's like you kind of almost assume like, oh yeah, it's like it has kind of like almost a bad rap in that sense that there's just so much of that going on over there, and they have a whole pandemic going on. But in Utah, like what's happening over here? Like we clearly have a lot of issues with addiction, with suicides. What are your thoughts on like what's happening?
I don't think it's any different than any other metropolitan.
Just fewer people, and that's why it's not as bad, or
I guess. But even then, there's a lot of different factors here, and not to get too political, and because it's none of my business, there's nothing I can do about it. Big Pharma, that's definitely a different episode. But
so that's two now.
That's two. You got to invite me back. Two separate occasions now. No, but then also it's I think the simplest thing to do is the lack of communication. When I speak at schools, I always find one person to make an example of. Meaning, I'll find one random person and I'll point at them and I'll go, if you went to your parents right now, and I say it in this voice, if you went to your parents right now and said, Mom, Dad, I have a crack addiction, how do you think they would react? And the person always goes, I have no idea.
That's still better than, oh my God, they would freak out.
Yeah, or they would,
and lock
or
me in.
Maybe they would, like maybe they would beat me. They would freak out. Rarely do I hear, oh man, thanks for coming to us with this. What do we need to do? Let's do some research. Do you think you want to go to rehab? Like, how can we tackle this together? Rarely is that the conversation, It's either I'm going to beat this addiction out of you. No, you don't. That's a lie. Or you brush it under the table or whatever it is. But the lack of communication for it, and then also the stigma behind it is, you get a lot of people who started off on painkillers because of an injury that developed into a full-blown heroin addiction.
Right, the whole fentanyl thing with opioid addiction. So I just had a guest this week, Melody, who is a opioid addiction specialist, and her son died of heroin overdose. Addiction, heroin overdose. And so now she's on a mission to educate people, like what people can do with the Narcocan, whatever that thing is.
Put me in touch with her.
Absolutely,
man, please.
absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. And so
what was her name?
Melody Yost Ellett. She is actually here. Yeah, I'll connect you with her.
Perfect. Yeah.
And you can watch her podcast over here.
Oh okay, cool.
It was just really good information. She literally goes from library to library, and I'll send you that as well. She's going to be here, I think, in Draper Library doing essentially training on how to administer, so in case if someone is overdosing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Narcan,
yeah. So that's what she does, and it really, I feel so good about doing this show and learning things from people and being able to kind of hopefully share that to as many people as possible so they can get some of that valuable information.
No, because that's what Utah in itself, right? Utah in itself, I think my family picked Utah because they were like, it's actually Utah has more reputable treatment centers here in the state of Utah than any other state.
Really?
And like people fly from all over the world to come to treatment out here in Utah.
How come?
I have no idea.
Is it the environment? I mean, I think it's beautiful here, right?
It's beautiful. It's the environment. And then I think what happened was you got these giant treatment centers that opened up, and then just everyone saw that they were potential money makers, which is where, it's not my job to police rehabs. There are some that you can feel and tell just care about the money. And then there are some who generally care about people. The treatment center that I went to, Willow Tree Recovery Centers in Pleasant Grove, the owner picked me up from the airport. You never see that. The owner of the treatment center picked me up.
That's unbelievable.
And he's an amazing guy, Jake Forsythe, man. Oh man. And I went from going from that to, I've been to treatment centers where there's a treatment center in Santa Ana, and I'm walking down the street and some gang members roll up on me and they're like, "What you doing in our neighborhood, Holmes?" And I'm just like, looking for an address, don't worry about it. And they didn't like the way I was talking to them, so they get out of the car and they're about to run up on me, and they're like, "What'd you say to us?" And I'm like, "There's a rehab in there right here." And they're like, "Maybe, I don't know." And I'm like, "I'm checking in, bro." And they're like, "Oh, you're checking in. I'm so sorry, man. Our bad. Hey, though, the rehab's right there, but check it out, dude. We're right across the street. If you ever need anything, just knock on the door."
Oh, dang.
So people would just walk across the street from the rehab, knock on the door and say, "Hey,
I need a fix.
I need a fix. I'm from the rehab." And they'd be like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm from the rehab." They're like, "Oh, no kidding? Okay, come on
the
in."
red carpet.
You know, right? No, exactly. And some of these rehabs would run insurance scams. So they would tell the insurance company that we're drug testing you, we're doing this, that, and the other, but they wouldn't do it. I was getting high at this rehab for a whole month. And they would drug test me like twice a week, bill my insurance, right? But they just would never drug test me. They would drug test me, but it would just be with a blank cup. No real drug test symbols on it or anything.
Right.
And they would say they were sending it to the lab.
Right.
A month later, they were like, "Ian, you popped dirty on a drug test." And I'm like, which one? Which one are we talking here?
Right.
Because I've been getting high for a month.
Right.
And I went to the owner and I told him, like, "Listen, like, I know it's my fault for getting high, but I'm a junkie. Like, it's my job to get high. It's your job to catch me, more or less. You know, not really, but."
Right.
And I told him, like, "What's going on?" And I was kicked out the next day.
Right. Yeah. You saw through what the scheme was.
And that happens a lot. There's a lot of shady. And luckily, like, we've progressed, far enough with, government shuts that stuff down real quick. Like, the police get involved, the DEA gets involved real quick, and they shut these places down real quick.
Right.
So when I say there's a lot more reputable treatment centers here in Utah than a lot of other places, that's very true.
Okay. Wow, what a journey. What a journey.
Yeah.
What do you see yourself in a year or two?
Oh, man.
And I don't know, I know we talked about projection, but I think you're out of that.
I'm out of
you're out of that mental state where you would just project negativity. Right now, it seems like you have everything going for you. You're on a roll with the business. You got a lady that you're gonna tie the knot, and you're helping people. It makes you feel great.
I get emotional thinking about that. If I would have gotten everything that I deserved, I'd be dead or in prison. Some of the stuff I did, talk about things that I deserve this, right? If I would have gotten everything I deserved, I'd be dead or in prison. And to think about, like, where my life could be in a year, like, I have aspirations today. I didn't have that. And, like, where I hope my life is in a mirror, I hope I'm still married. I hope. Hope I'm married and our business is doing very well to the point where we can hire more staff. We can, start programming, which is essentially different types of programs that we would offer instead of just the ones that I presented before. So I own 2 houses, right? I rent out one of the properties, and getting sober, some of my best friends today are felons. People who did a lot of time in prison. One of my best friends did like 10 years in the feds in Boston. These guys I would trust in my life, right? And it's really sad that they have their life together today, but because of their background, because of their credit history, no one will rent to them. No one will give them a loan to buy a house. So I bought a house and I only rent out to people who've been to prison.
Right. So that's an interesting thing, which is, we have this out of sight, out of mind mentality as a society, right? Like
I want to help them.
You go to
not
prison,
in my neighborhood.
you serve time, then you come back to society, and then you go. Like, but no, you come back. The reason why, again, this is just my opinion. The reason why a lot of them go back is because society doesn't take them back. You're damaged goods.
You're doomed to work at McDonald's for the rest of your life, or other felon-friendly jobs.
Right.
And that's why, like, I have a buddy. Oh man, he would be a great podcast. Doyle Dockstetter. Okay. He did some time at the Point right over here, and he is just a self-made man. He's one of those people where he wakes up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. every day, and he's just go, go, go nowadays. And he runs a company now, and like, and I love these stories, and that's why I love these people. Like, I want to hang out. The people, my ideal friend to have is someone who went from just nothing and is just super successful today. Those are the people who I want in my life.
Right. I mean, I'm sure you know some of them.
All of them. All my friends are like that.
Right. Exactly. So I am going to tap you as a source for these storytellers, because I want those people who have those stories.
Oh man.
And because I want to bring more of that, because these are the types of things when you share a story. I mean, we're all storytellers. Our lives are little movies that are running, right? And so I want to bring more of those so that they can share their experiences. So for those who are watching this, they can get inspired. They can become hopeful again.
I want to inspire people to help people. Yeah. That's what I want to do. Like, rent a room out to the dude who has a shady background. My house has never been cleaner. These people know how to take care of my home, and they respect me because of the chance I'm giving them.
Yeah, they appreciate it.
They're so appreciative.
Taking a chance on
And I love these guys. Like, it's my second family. Like, and I want to inspire people to help people.
Right.
Everyone can help someone.
Live up to the...
Yeah, and because that's the thing, like, it doesn't take much. It really doesn't. People think of helping someone as, if you don't have the ability to send money to Africa or wherever God takes you, it doesn't take much. Just talk to someone. Check on that friend that you haven't spoken to for a while. See how they're doing. The friend who's getting a divorce, or just something bad just happened to them. Give them a call.
I love that you said that. I love that you said that. One of my guests, a doctor, she goes by Dr. Lulu. She's from Nigeria originally. She's a pediatrician, board certified over here in States now. She's in Texas, and she works with teenagers, and she works with suicide. She wrote a book, and one of the things when I talked to her, and I said, like, Dr. Lulu, what is one of the things that you would recommend people do to prevent these, like when you see some red flags? She was like, tune in. Literally tune in to this. And you said that too, communication, right? It's like that contact, that you're tuning in, that you care. Yeah. That is something that, starts, like the other person, whoever's in trouble, like, oh, someone is caring for me. Someone cares what's happening to me. And that's, that spawns hope. That spawns like all those different things that will hopefully put that person back on, like, hey, I'm not going to take my life.
Because if I can get you to trust me enough to confide in me, like, just tell me, like, dude, man, like, I've been thinking about killing myself. I've had friends call me and say that, okay, what do we need to do? Like, I have no idea. I'm like, all right, so I'm scared that you're going to hurt yourself. With your permission, like, is it okay if I pick you up and we go over to Wasatch Mental Health just so they can evaluate you, and just for 24 hours? And I don't call the cops if I don't need to. I say, I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to drive you over to Wasatch Mental Health, or wherever we are, right? And I've done that, but it all started because like the doctor was saying, I tuned in. Yeah. Like, I was available. Yeah. Which is why I make myself available. If it's something that, like I made a promise that I wouldn't miss certain things, like, I'm not going to miss my wedding.
That'd be the end of that.
That would be like, okay. great while it lasted, you know. But you know, and people in my circles, you know, I always make sure that my friends introduce themselves to each other. So if I'm not available, my friends can call friend A, B, C, D, E, all the way to Z, you know.
Right.
We build a family around us for just that reason.
Yeah. Where can people find out more about, you know, your Sobriety Wellness Services?
Yeah.
What's the domain? I'd like to kind of share that so they can check.
So you can go to sobrietywellnessservices.com or sobrietyws.com, either one. You can email us directly at help@sobrietyws.com. You can email us directly for any information, but our website is sobrietywellnessservices.com. Facebook, Instagram, everything like that.
Right.
If you have any questions, my email's on that website as well. If you ever want to call, consultations, like I said, we do everything.
Well, I think we're going to have a couple of more episodes unpacking.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed our conversation. I really love what you do. It again, meeting different people and having guests on this show that are doing great work like you do just restores my faith in humanity, that we can survive, we can help ourselves, we can become more human, we can do more for others, we can find ourselves through helping others. And you're doing great job, Ian. Really appreciate it. Any shout outs? Any shout outs for anybody?
Oh man, we'll be here forever. Shout out to my business partner, Tyler Richards. Yeah, thanks so much for helping me come on with you. Jeremy Tripp, shout out to you. I love you, man. Thanks for, letting me be part of your family as well. Victoria Stewart, my lovely fiance, hopefully soon to be Victoria Rader. Thank you for putting up with me in all my crazy adventures and stuff like that. My mom, my dad, I can't stop apologizing enough for what I put you through, but I hope that everything I'm doing today can help make up for everything. And I just want to say I love you. My sister, Emily, I'm really happy that I get to be in your life again. It means the world. And my friend who took me initially through the 12 steps, Jason T, I'd be dead if it wasn't for him. And literally the list goes on and on. I name friends and family and stuff like that, but I literally have an army around me.
Right, and that's part of the success of having a community that supports you. That you get that positive energy and help from people, and they see what you're doing and how you're growing. And let's not forget about the rabbi.
Rabbi Benny, he doesn't need any more of a shout out. We've been talking about him
that's true, buddy.
This whole time. I got to keep his ego small too,
I think I want to meet him.
You would love to come on here.
I would love to have him on.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to have him on.
Totally.
Fantastic. All right, Ian, thank you so much. Zach, roll out the outro, and we'll see you next time. The world is full of interesting people with wisdom and extraordinary experiences to learn from. Join me on a journey to discover them, speak with them, and learn from them. I'm Adrian Sinclair, host of A Podcast with Interesting People at apodcast.com.